Welcome back to another episode of Keoni Chats. After a couple weeks off, my eyes feel refreshed. My brain thought about something different, and I was enjoying it because I got to let the podcast breathe a little bit, let it settle in to some people, and now I'm ready to attack it again, and I'm ready to get on with the show and continue getting people's stories out there for everyone to listen to. So in that little 2-week break, I made a point of emphasis to bring up the level of comfortability for the show. Because if you've been watching the show prior to this episode, you might have saw that I was using a TV dinner tray table stand. That's probably not the official title, but I was using that and a stack of high school yearbooks, I should say, to get the laptop to about eye level to get a good framing. I was feeling like I wasn't legit. I wasn't fully a podcaster yet, because from what I saw when it came to watching, let's say, a podcast that's also having a video cast on YouTube, they have a bunch of themselves. They have themselves kind of scattered throughout the background. They have framing photos or posters. So I wanted to do that as well. So you got some posters over here to my right. And then the Flash, a little mini poster, and the Oregon banner is still there, but the shelving has some pop figures, the Green Lantern, and then you also got the WWE belt. I grew up watching the WWE and during the Attitude Era with The Rock, Stone Cold, The Undertaker. So I could talk about that for days because that was such a fun part of my life. And I'm slowly getting back into it, but not as much as I was when I was younger. And while I can't go on and on about this, I'm here to introduce an episode. So Jake Smith. I met Jake during my short period at the Regal movie theaters in Eugene, Oregon, before I came up to Portland. So before Jake Smith even started at Regal movie theater, I had known that he is a male cheerleader for the University of Oregon, and I thought that was awesome because that just screams that he's very peppy, he's very energetic. And I wanted to talk to him about that, and I wanted to talk to him about being on the sidelines during football games and being at courtside during basketball games, because as a fan of sports, that's as close as you can get. And that was amazing that I got to meet someone that is at that level. So coming into this interview, I knew that was something I wanted to touch base with him, and along with everything else that he's interested in, and just get to know him a little bit more. So this podcast is more about getting to know the person and also getting to know their story and help them get it out to the public sphere. So I was very excited to have him on because he's also a giant podcast fan and he's very supportive. He said he's a very supportive guy. So it just makes me want to help him out as much as I can and be able to help him get his story out, like I just mentioned. It's a great feeling. So whether you are listening to this interview through Spotify or iTunes or watching it on YouTube on your laptop or phone, I hope you enjoy my chat with Jake Smith. Jake Smith, we were talking before. I like to, anytime I get on these, Zoom calls, I like to talk with my guests a little bit before we officially start recording, just to get them comfortable. And we started talking about some deep stuff, some heavy stuff about how your relationship with your dad and how golfing has kind of helped equalize the playing field. Now, you mentioned that your dad's into fishing and hunting, and that's just not your thing. So, how crucial or how beneficial has therapy been, which also you mentioned that you've been in, when it comes to the repairing of your relationship with your dad?
I think it's been, it just wouldn't, like, our relationship wouldn't be what it is without it. Like, it has been absolutely integral to me being able to understand what I was feeling. I think that was the biggest part for me, was like understanding what I was feeling first, and then how to respond to that in a more positive and constructive way. So instead of just like shutting down and getting hurt, it's now, we have constructive conversations, which is huge.
Now,
So
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, that was finished.
So, I've gone therapy too, and then my relation is for a different reason, but
Mm-hmm.
my relationship with my dad was another topic that came up because I felt that he kind of viewed me more as a friend instead of an actual son. Now that's kind of the reverse for you. So, how would you say the progress in repairing your relationship has been since you're about a state away from your dad because he's in California, and you're
Yeah,
currently
super
in
Northern
Washington.
California. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the distance has been weird, but it's been good. I could always tell, like at the end of summers, he would be over when I was in high school. He'd be over me being home all the time because it's just like go out and do something.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the distance has been very good for us. It's helped us like set better boundaries, especially with me graduating college. It's helped set more permanent boundaries to where I don't have to, like, he doesn't see everything that's going on in my life, where he doesn't have that chance to parent all the time, and I get to control the narrative a little bit more.
Yeah. No, it's good to have those kind of conversations because I had that one time with my dad where we actually sat down and had a father to son talk about what he's up to, what I'm up to, and it didn't come until actually I had this podcast up and going where I saw him actually take an invested interest in what I'm doing with my free time and how I want to push my medians out to people.
Mm-hmm.
So when you started doing cheer, what was your dad's opinion on that?
So I told him I wanted to try it.
Uh-huh.
I think it was April 2015. So I had 2 months left of high school, and I was like, "Hey, Dad, I think I might want to do this," because I had TA'd for my high school's cheer coach,
Mm-hmm.
and she knew I was going to Oregon, and she knew that a lot of the girls on the team really liked Oregon's program, and she knew it was co-ed, so she's like, "Just give it a try." So I came to a practice, and I loved it. I thought it was a great challenge for me,
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't immediately pick it up. I wasn't great at it, and that was new for me, very new. And so I told him, and his first question was, "Are you gay?" And it was like, "No." And then we sat and had a conversation about it. And, I told him, I was like, actually, if you think about it, it's a great place for a straight man to be. If
Yeah.
Stereotypically, it's a great place.
Yep.
But that was the first immediate reaction. And I think that's just a reflection of where we live. It's like Redding, California is very stuck in the past.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much going on. Population has stayed stagnant at 89,000 people for like 25 years because everybody that's born there just leaves.
Yeah.
And if you stick around, you're not really doing much. So, and that's not, that's 90% true.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that too. If this is the life that you think is best for you to stick in Reading after you graduate high school, college, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, but that wasn't for me because I knew that I needed to go out and experience more. Mm-hmm. So once I explained it to him that this was like a chance for me to go experience really cool things, get to travel on Oregon Athletics dime, I get to, meet some really cool people. And, on top of that, I get comp tickets to just about every sporting event that I cheered at. So once I told him that, he was definitely into it. Because I was like, the tickets we got, Keoni, you're pretty familiar with Authen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So section 3 is where my tickets were, and they were set below the band. So
Oh.
below, and then if you're looking at the field below and to the left of the band.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of my parents, most of the times I gave them tickets, were in rows 3 through 7.
Yeah.
That, I mean, they were, they were right on the field. And so once he saw that for the first time, he's like, I get it. This is really cool.
Yeah.
So then we got to do the March to Victory, run out with flags and all that stuff. Like that was a really good time. So after it just took like a little bit of explaining, just because the only male cheerleaders that had ever been in Reading were very outwardly gay. So like it just took just a smidgen of education.
Yeah. And no matter how much time passes, like let's say he asks you that, and
Yeah.
then some time passes, how long did it kind of stick in the back of your head?
I think once we talked when he came up and saw me for the first when my parents came up and saw me for the first time, and he's like, I get it. I never thought about that again.
Okay. Okay.
Because at that point too, I had also met my current girlfriend, and I was like, I think I like this girl. So it was kind of like a double whammy.
It was like, okay, solidified. He is homosexual. He's good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like both my dad's younger siblings are gay. And so like up into the age of like 14 or 15, I thought everybody had a gay uncle and a gay aunt.
Okay, so he's just more of like,
He was just curious.
he's just curious. He wasn't like just bashing you or just, he just wanted to know.
Yep, exactly. So we
Okay.
hadn't had very many close. We hadn't had like the talk. That
Yeah.
was something I avoided like the plague.
Yeah. So what was that like, having a gay uncle and a gay aunt? Did you thought, you just mentioned that you thought that everyone had this. How would you say that having their influence in your life has shaped you to where you are right now?
Oh, it has made me so much more of an understanding person, and just
That
open.
was a poster that was on my wall that just fell over, so I apologize for that.
It's all good. You might hear my dog growling in the background because I think the UPS guy is pulling up.
Lovely.
So
Lovely.
yeah. But it made me just aware that there were people out there that lived life differently than I did, and that was okay. There wasn't anything. There's nothing objectively. It taught me that there's nothing objectively wrong with that, with different lifestyles, and that it helped me kind of form this opinion about. I will only judge someone on a basis of something that they can control, their character, how they treat other people. I'm never gonna judge someone on the basis of something they can't control: sexual orientation, race, gender, religion. You don't control that. So
Yeah.
like, how can I ever judge you for something you can't control?
Yeah.
And so that it helped me shape kind of that formulation and thought process now that kind of guides me.
So how do you feel right now about the Black Lives Matter movement? It is stuff that people cannot control, but they're trying
Mm-hmm.
to make the effort of trying to do what they need to do to gain more control on it.
Absolutely. So if I'm completely frank, like the first few years of it, it was so mind-boggling to me that people could be so mean to someone on the basis of something that they can't control, that I shut it down. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that there was still like I knew it existed in pockets, in the stereotypical places, the South, like it probably exists there more openly, but I couldn't believe that. When I guess I forgot that a lot of the rules that we're governed by now were created a century ago. So, and at that time, racism was a lot more apparent. So I had a hard time believing it, but now if you don't see that there's something that needs to be fixed, you're genuinely trying to not see a problem. Like you're really trying to discredit everything that these people are saying. And so I see my place in it as being a person that I can use my privilege on the basis of my skin color. People will listen to me. I can use my place in this as a loudspeaker to have these uncomfortable conversations with people who would probably not want to hear it from a person of color. So, or, they might immediately discredit them, and it sucks that they would, but it's my job. I feel like it's my job to have those uncomfortable conversations and to be an ally to, my friends who are minorities and people of color.
And so what would you say that you've learned since the killing of George Floyd and the whole Black Lives Matter movement became way more prominent versus what it was 2 years ago? Because for me, what I learned is that I can't say I understand. I can't say I know how you feel because I don't. I'll never know.
Exactly.
I just need to figure out better ways to be a better listener. So what have you learned from this movement?
So I learned that a lot of the narrative, I learned to stop listening to the news and to listen to the people who are directly, trying to spread their message. The leaders of these movements, listen to what they say. So I can form my own opinion. I don't want to hear somebody else's opinion, whether it be Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. I don't need you to tell me your opinion. To be honest, I could care less what your opinion is. Mm-hmm. I want to know what I think about it. And what I think about it is, one, like you said, I will never understand how you feel. Two, it's my job to listen. And three, it's my job to be an ally. So, and I think a lot of it starts with moving money around to help, these impoverished communities gain a step up. Mm-hmm. Because when the Civil Rights Act was passed, really, other than that, which was a great step, but other than that, there was nothing done to help these, people of color move out of their current situations. They went back to living in the same places they were living in beforehand. So that's, there need to be programs now that help people out, more trade programs. My dad was, a Boilermaker. He went to welding school. He was a Boilermaker for 25 years because college wasn't the right thing for him. There needs to be more, school funding for that, in my opinion. So it's, that would be a huge step, because like college isn't the right move for everybody. Some people hate school. They want to work with their hands. They want to be a mechanic. They want to be a plumber. Like that's what I think needs to happen. That's what I've learned, is that there needs to be a helping hand to help these people find their path out of their current situation. Yeah.
And you are currently in Vancouver, Washington. When I guess rewind, let's say about a month or so ago, when we had when we had federal agents in Portland, as someone that was actually physically on the outside looking in from Washington to Oregon.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that?
I think this speaks to suburbia. I had no idea it was happening. Yeah. This speaks to kind of like this old school view of suburban neighborhoods. In Vancouver, I had no idea it was happening. My dad had to call me before I knew something was happening. And I read the news every day. And at that point, he was like, "What the hell is going on in Portland? Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about." And so then I went on and I saw the videos, and it was crazy. But I'm very thankful that there are people who, are acting more than I am, because I don't know what to do other than to have conversations with people. I'm not the person that's going to go out and, protest, because I don't necessarily know how to. What I do think is really unfortunate is that the small proportion of these protests that are violent, and I just read a news story last night that over 93% of the protests were peaceful. 93% on a test, it's a solid A. You're doing great, right?
I would jump over the
But
moon for that.
exactly, I got that like twice in college, and I would call up Hannah. I'm like, we're going out tonight. I got a good grade on a test. Like, we're gonna go get a good dinner. But
We're going to Taylor's. Let's go, guys.
exactly. AMF's on me. Like, and um, so what really frustrates me is that everybody attaches this violence to Black Lives Matter, that this is all they are, is that they're violent thugs and criminals, when it's a small proportion that want to incite violence, and a lot of it's white people.
Yeah.
Like, there was a girl that I worked with at Dutch Bros in Springfield, the weird sister to Eugene.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And she was the girl in the video screaming at kids in Eugene to stop beating windows in with their skateboard. Did you ever see that video floating around, Keoni?
I didn't see that one. I'll look
text it to you.
Okay, yeah, text it to me.
There was a girl I worked with at Dutch Bros, and now she's like the leading voice and then the head figure for Black Lives Matter in Eugene. Like, she did the March on Washington, she did all of that. And so, and she was yelling at white people to stop doing this. And so, like, in that instance, it really frustrates me that other white people are taking the spotlight from these really empowered people of color who are out doing great things and just asking to live a normal life and for equal rights. And then white people are just destroying it for them. It sucks.
Yeah, it's man, yeah. I saw some videos of George Floyd and then the Jacob Blake. So I saw those two videos, and then to kind of defend your point about not knowing how to protest, I don't know either, and the only thing I can really do that makes myself comfortable, because the thought of, at first when they had like the big gatherings in downtown Portland and then there's police there, I was like having some anxiety. I was like, ooh, okay, I don't like this unpredictability. I don't like how it could turn south in a dime. But if I just talk about it, have these conversations with you, or bring it up in my episodes previously or whatnot, and just say, like, if you're feeling the way I feel, then there are other ways. There's you could sign petitions, you could just stay in contact, be educated. So I think what you're doing, even though sometimes it might not feel enough, it's better than just doing nothing.
Yeah.
Man. So you mentioned earlier that you would like to see some more trade school, I would say, notoriety. What, with your dad being a welder, what kind of activities, or what did you like to build with your hands? What were some, this sounds a little weird. What kind of hand activities did you like to do growing up?
I love to cook. My mom's a culinary teacher in high school. I love to cook.
Yeah.
So that's my hand stuff that I like to do. So building stuff, no. Yeah. I'm not into that. I will pay someone to do that because there's someone who's a lot better at it than I am. But then again, I can make a French omelet a lot better than other people too. So I think I'm not gonna brag. Exactly, but it's like, what's important to you? And building stuff, not important to me. I got IKEA. Like, I can build stuff from IKEA, and even then, Hannah yells at me because I don't follow the instructions all the way. Yeah. And I end up with a headboard that's on backwards or something like that. But it's I think when I was growing up, my hands were reserved for sports. Yeah. And what other manual labor my dad asked of me that I would do without question. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to work hard, and I'm happy to do that for you. One of my punishments when I was a junior in high school, I dug a ditch for a citrus tree. Yeah.
That was a punishment?
Now, yeah. I dug a 3-foot hole for a citrus tree. But now that citrus tree in our backyard is the biggest one out there. And so I feel this huge sense of accomplishment. We get a ton of limes from it every year.
I just want to, when it comes to, like, let's say holidays where you need the limes, you should just be like, and you're welcome, and you're welcome.
Exactly. I'm like, I always ask when I talk to my parents during the winter. I always make sure they cover up my citrus tree from the frost because I need my legacy to still stand when they leave that home.
There you go. There you go. I could just see
Yeah,
them putting like a tarp around it with like making like a makeshift blanket over the shoulders.
yeah, they do bed sheets.
They
Yep, they do
do
bed sheets.
what? That's awesome,
Yeah,
man.
yep.
So Hannah is, from what I found out, she is in LA, correct? Or is that wrong?
UC Irvine, yeah.
You
So,
see
or
Irvine?
she's in the city of Orange. She's in the city of Orange. Um, Goes to school at UC Irvine as an intern for the Orange County Transit Authority, and is also trying to relaunch her modeling career.
Ah,
So, very busy person.
very busy person. Now,
Yeah.
how is she doing, and how is the family doing with COVID? And especially, let's say, I want to know how you're doing. Having your core support group, being a state away.
Yeah. So long distance kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But I think it's been great growth for both of us. She's relaunched her modeling career because she has extra time on her hands with COVID. And I'm in full support of that. Love it. Love to see it. For me, it's allowed me to play a lot more golf, which is great. And for my parents, I haven't seen them. It gave me a chance to drive home. I went home about a month ago for the first time in a year, um, because when I graduated, Hannah and I took a small trip, and then I went straight to work. I had maybe 2 weeks off after graduation before I started to work,
Sounds
which was, if I
exhausting.
had to tell anybody, please don't do that.
Yeah, that sounds tiring, man.
Sucks. It was really rough. But uh, I've been able to talk to them. I've been able to talk to my parents more, but it's also taught me to be more self-reliant. Handle problems on my own, talk through stuff with myself, with Ben, my dog. Like he and I have full conversations. So um, it's allowed me. It's taught me to be more self-reliant.
Yeah, and when the whole COVID quarantine lockdown happened, and then it slowly lifted, the biggest sport I heard from everyone in the office, because I've been one of those fortunate ones to be in the office since day one. Fortunate, actually, sometimes. No, they say that golfing has just become so popular because you're outdoors, you're
Yep.
social distance to a T. Now,
Yep.
for you, how do you feel knowing that golf has taken an uptick in popularity because of COVID?
Oh, it's great. I'm all for it. Are you kidding me? Like the biggest thing is within the golf and the USGA right now is grow the game. And they had some social initiatives to get kids playing and everything, but nothing is more motivational than it really being the only thing you could do.
Mm-hmm.
The golf courses were closed down in Washington for a while, but that didn't stop me from just driving over to the border, and going into Oregon to play.
Yeah.
So I really hope we get the game gets more consistent players out of this.
Mm-hmm.
I think there, organizations like the Oregon Golf Association, OGA, they have this great membership. If you go to the University of Oregon, it's called U Club. You get it's $20, and if you get the OGA membership along with it, which gives you like some 2-for-1 passes and discount rates to a lot of places. But then you also get a card to go play at Emerald Valley, which is one of the courses that the Oregon golf team practices at. It's a great public course. But then once you graduate, you can do the OGA under 30 membership, and it costs $30, and you get great discounts to a ton of courses in the area. And I would love to see a bigger priority put on programs like that from courses, because it's also a cost prohibitive sport,
Mm-hmm.
And the clubs can be expensive. And I think it's one of the only sports where your gear has like a direct impact on how you do. Maybe skiing and snowboarding a little bit, but this is like, you can go out and get custom fit for clubs when they're, and they're adjusting the lie angle of your club. You can get it bent forward 1 degree, up 1 degree, like there's so much science that goes behind it. A simple TrackMan setup, which is the technology that they use to fit you when you get fit for a set of clubs, that's like $10,000. And so, that's how much places are shelling out to be able to custom fit people for clubs. And then a full set of clubs can run you anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000. So, but that's like for brand new stuff. Callaway pre-owned is a great resource. You can get clubs like up to 50% off there. You can get a full set of irons, really nice irons for like $300. And so like that still is expensive, but these are also something that you keep for 5 to 10 years. So if you depreciate it out, if you do keep it for a decade, it's $30 a year. It's not too bad. I feel like a lot of people can swing that, but just not all at once. So I completely understand. So I wish that there were more resources around the game to make it less cost prohibitive to more people.
Yeah, because I remember when, it's a different sport, but when I was in middle school, one of my friends was asking me like, hey, why don't you come out for lacrosse? And then when I thought about it, I was like, lacrosse is expensive because you got the paddings, you have the sticks, and then the balls, which you will easily lose because they're like yay big. It's a cost prohibitive sport. So I was just like, nah, I'm okay. And, if golf was like that, yeah, I'm sure that the floodgates would open up. We have more people, participating and more people, getting in there and hitting the tee or whatever phrasing.
Hitting the links, yeah.
Hitting the links.
Yeah.
Oh my golfer
there's
friend.
there's another great, there's another guy, his name is Eric Anders Lang. His company is called Random Golf Club. You can find it on Instagram or YouTube. But he does a really great job of making the game more approachable to people, not so serious. He's got this joke. It's like called Rule 17B. Always laugh at the bad shots. Doesn't really ever play for score. And he's kind of making it like a more fun, youthful vibe. And I think that's what golf has missed. And another thing that can turn people away is just like the established people that go play it. Yeah. That's old white dudes. When I was a junior, I was a competitive junior golfer. People had seen me at this course tons of times. I jumped the hole to get in front of them because my mom was waiting, and they, excuse my language, they bitched at me for 20 minutes once we got up to the top of this hill. Yeah. About, that's not the thing you do on a golf course, yada, yada, yada. And it's like, I'm 12 years old. I don't need a 70-year-old man yelling at me. And that really turned me off. I didn't play for a month after that. I was like, I don't want to deal with this. This isn't fun. Golf, it's a sport. It's supposed to be fun. So, once we get, and think about this too, Augusta National, where they hold the Masters every year, just allowed women to play in a competitive setting 2 years ago.
I feel like that should have been done a little bit sooner.
If we really want to go back, should have never been a restriction to begin with.
Yeah. There's that too.
But it is like the definition of a good old boys club.
Yeah.
I don't think women could have memberships there on their own until maybe 15 years ago. Yeah. And you're talking in the 21st century.
And wasn't the WPGA, isn't that like a
prominent? The LPGA is big.
Yeah, LPGA,
big. Yeah, it's big.
It's huge.
You got, you've got Michelle Wie, who is, one of the largest figureheads in female sports. She couldn't play in a tournament. She turned pro at like 16 years old, but couldn't play at Augusta. It's insane. She wiped the floor with 99% of their members. Couldn't go out and play.
And the golfing attire for women isn't, I could be wrong here, isn't it like a skirt? And like from what I've seen from like, let's say,
so like it used to be, they couldn't wear any sort like remotely revealing clothes. Like they couldn't wear a skirt, couldn't wear a tank top. They had to wear, pants. They had to, had to have sleeves. their shirt can be super low cut. And so that has like, women's golf attire has come miles and it looks great.
Yeah.
People are allowed to express themselves more, but there are still places like the old course I used to play back in Reading. You have to have your shirt tucked in. If you don't have your shirt tucked in when you walk on the property, they could find you or just tell you to go home. And it's like, you're not going to get a 10-year-old kid to come out and do that because it's not cool to tuck in your shirt.
No, man, you got to untuck it. Maybe just turn around also, we're the wrong way.
Exactly. So it's, there's a lot that still needs to be done. Yeah. There's still a lot of, places where it's extremely cost prohibitive. You got to pay a $50,000 bond to become a member. And then on top of that, you have your monthly dues, your food minimums that you got to buy. A lot of these courses that are super nice, and granted, like their operating costs are ridiculous. They're super expensive. Yeah. But I wish there were more courses where it costs just 15 or 20 bucks to go play.
So I want, oh God, how do I transition to this? Because you're talking about making it fun, and
yeah,
to play devil's advocate, could you say that maybe, having those little nitty, very detailed rules about tucking your shirt, would you say that maybe have helped you kind of stay the line as far as like, proper and versus improper? Because I remember, let me give you an example. So playing football, we're supposed to tuck in our jerseys as we go out to the field. You have it untucked, it looks disorganized. It looks, you're picked out of a lineup. Sure. So, from that experience, it just made me think, okay, so I want to look proper. I got to tuck in my shirt and I got to be presentable. To play devil's advocate, now, would you say that while it's not the greatest image, the greatest experience to get yelled at by a 7-year-old, that maybe it kind of helped you a little bit as far as being a little more well kept?
The game itself, like the game of golf itself, when you play around, you learn a ton of different life lessons. How to control your emotions, be respectful of others. When you go play with, like, a favorite thing for me to do right now is to just sign up for myself and I go play with 3 other random people. And so in those 4 to 5 hours that you're playing with them, you learn how to communicate better with people. But I don't think those rules taught me how to be a better person.
Okay.
And like, I like your example of having your football jersey tucked in. Yeah. Like, also, if you don't have your jersey tucked in, like, I got drugged down by my jersey because it wasn't tucked in one time. Yeah. And after that, I always made sure my jersey was tucked in.
You're not getting dragged down at the golf course.
It's a competitive advantage to have your jersey tucked in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I hear what you're saying. It helps you. It does help, it does help you learn to just kind of go with the flow, be open-minded to an extent. But I think that it turns a lot of people away. Yeah. Because there are like these super rigid rules. It turns people away.
Yeah, I can see that too. So did you have a chance to watch the Phil Mickelson versus Tiger Woods with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady?
Yeah. I love that. I just want to throw out there, it's a horrible look for Under Armour when Tom Brady's pants split on live TV.
Yeah, that was so...
like a horrible look.
It was so funny.
I loved it. So, and like, I'm left-handed and I love Phil Mickelson, but nothing will ever trump my admiration and love for Tiger Woods. I used to, when my dad would talk when Tiger was hitting, and I would like shush him because Dad, Tiger Woods is hitting. He was like 6 years old. I'm just shush. His Tiger's on TV. So like I got a Tiger head cover. I had Tiger posters in my room as a kid. I always bought Nike stuff. Like I was tired out as a kid. And then I also just love Peyton Manning too. I think he's great. He's so funny.
Yeah. Like I watched a little bit of it as I was kind of heading out the door to do some errands because I believe it's on Saturday or Sunday. And the commentary was fantastic, and
Yep.
Charles Barkley there too. Oh,
Oh, Chuck's so bad at golf. Chuck is terrible at golf. And I love too that you have Justin Thomas, one of the young stars of the game. You had him commentating the game, or
yeah,
commentating the round.
yeah,
I love watching golf on TV, but anytime Roger Maltby or Nick Faldo talk, I mute it because I
really.
just don't want to listen to them. But now they've got guys like Mark and Trevor Immelman who were professionals and they're still like relatively, and they're just fresh out of being on the PGA. They've got them talking. I would much rather listen to them.
Mm.
And then they had Phil. Phil missed a cut, and they had him come in and commentate for a couple of days. I think it was during the BMW Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he kind of turned into like the Tony Romo situation, where he would talk too much and overanalyze, but he was dead on.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand why people hate that. I want to know, and it goes back to what we talked about earlier, like listening to people who are at the top of the game in their field.
Yeah.
I want to know everything. I want to listen to them. I want to know everything I can.
Yeah, no, of course. You want to like even if it's, you said use the example of quilting. It's like, yeah, it's something I don't see myself doing, but I want to hear someone talk about it, and I want to hear someone, maybe affiliate quilting with some magical moment in their life and see how they got to where they are. So it's
exactly. Tell me why it's interesting for you, because I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, but it's like listening to Phil talk and listening to Tony Romo talk about their respective sports is fascinating to me. I could do it all day long.
Yeah, I remember people were frustrated that Tony Romo was too spot on, and either that or they're like, I think some team was like, should we recruit Tony Romo to be our offensive coordinator if he is this sharp in the broadcasting booth? I was like, that's a pretty fun idea because as a quarterback, Tony was like, he had its moments, but also obviously he had a lot of downside. But if he was able to make that switch, I was like, whoo, okay.
So let's talk about Tony Romo real quick. I have feelings about Tony Romo. I love Tony Romo.
Yeah.
I think if he had been under a different owner / organization, I think he would have won a couple of Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
If he didn't have Wade Phillips and then Jason Garrett,
yeah,
I can respect what Jerry Jones does by letting a coach ride out, because it does take a couple of years to get a system up and going, to get the players that they want.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he lets them ride it out a little too long.
Yeah.
So I think if Tony had gone, if Tony had been like under Sean Payton,
ooh,
unstoppable. Even like, and Drew Brees is one of the greatest of all times, and I think Drew Brees would have been a better fit for someone like a Jerry Jones ownership than Tony Romo was.
Yeah. I feel like Breeze has that mentality of like, player or team person. I'm gonna make it work. While Tony's just like, I'm gonna force it to work. And
I'm gonna do everything I can.
Yeah.
Which is admirable.
Yeah.
But not what was needed in that organization.
No. So you were a football player previously at Enterprise High School, Hornets in Redding, California. So from what I saw, you were a defensive line, right?
Middle linebacker.
So, you're a competitive guy from, your time as a junior golfer. And then, just from what I know of you, you're competitive. Why did you not go for a linebacker position with a college, or did anyone just not, try to recruit you?
Or get recruited? I played behind two guys that were all state both years in the state of California too.
Yeah.
So that's hard.
A little bit. And what can you tell me about this River Bowl rivalry?
Yeah. So I just want to put this out there. I lost 5 games my entire football career.
Wow.
Freshman year to senior year, lost 5 games. We were good.
Yeah.
We were good. My junior year, we went to the California State Division II championships, and the way at that point in time California State playoffs worked, it doesn't work like Oregon. It didn't work like Oregon's, where when you won your section, you won your conference, you went, and it was a state playoff bracket, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it? You were selected by a bowl committee, and so we went 12-0 my junior year. Our offensive line averaged 6'5", 270. When we had our running back, who I graduated with, his name was Izzy Matthews, who went on to be a true freshman running back. And I think he's number 5 in touchdowns for Colorado State. So we were good. We were real good. And we got selected for NorCal Bowl. It was the second time in NCIF history that a team from the northern section got picked. We played Manteca High School, which is actually Kenny Wooten's alma mater. Yeah, exactly. So I think Kenny was just like a year or two behind me. So he probably was a freshman, but we won. I think we won by 4 points, and we were the first team to ever make it. And at that point, once you win that NorCal Bowl game, you go and play the Southern California Bowl winner. And the way it works in California, you've got 6 divisions. You've got open division, where teams are allowed to give athletic scholarships. You've got Division 1, which is big schools. Division 2, which is 1,000 to 1,500 kids, which was Enterprise, all the way to Division 5, which is like the smaller schools, like the Bernies and the Dunsmuir schools.
Mm-hmm.
We played Chaminade High School in the SubHub Center, which was just a ridiculous experience. Chaminade High School was an open division team that applied to drop down to Division 2 for the state playoffs because they were a smaller school, but they had 3 or 4 kids from Canada that had academic scholarships. Their quarterback ended
up. You keep doing the air quotes.
Yeah. They weren't academic scholarships. That school's like $50,000 a year to go to. And then their quarterback ended up going into the NFL. They were a ridiculous team. So we lost, but I got to play football on national TV, so that was kind of cool. And then my senior year, we came back. We thought we were going to do it again. Mm-hmm. We ended up losing one game. It was an out-of-conference game against Vacaville High School, which is a Division 1 team. That even after losing 4 members of their starting offense, they still made it to the semifinals of Division 1 Sac Joaquin section, which is like the biggest section in California. So our one loss was against a great team out of our division, and we didn't make it, but we still ended up winning. We still ended up winning the northern section title. Go to the River Bowl, and back to your question, we made it there. That is between Enterprise and Shasta High School because our schools were separated by the Shasta River, or not the Sacramento River, excuse me. Sacramento River. We got Shasta on the west side, Enterprise on the east side. I actually lived on the west side, and I got an interdistrict transfer to go to Enterprise because, yeah, exactly. I didn't want to. I didn't want to lose for football, and I had played in Enterprise's midget program. I had played in their Pop Warner football program, and so it was thought up by, I forget Shasta's coach name, but it was also thought up by Enterprise's, like a legacy coach at Enterprise by the name of Clay Arrow. And I think at that point, Enterprise had won 6 straight. By the time I graduated, we won 6 straight. And so that's, 10,000 people show up to that game. Like Reading shuts down for that. If you know anybody that goes to Shasta or Enterprise, you go to the game and you watch, regardless of whether that person plays or not. And it was one of the coolest experiences ever because the stadiums either at Shasta or at Enterprise was roaring. It was louder than the StubHub, louder than the NorCal Bowl game. That's probably one of my best memories is playing in those games.
Were you nervous at all, going to the stadium for the first time, crowd screaming, stands packed?
Yeah.
Did you feel any kind of nerves? How'd you shake them off?
So my first year, my first year playing in it on varsity was my junior year, and luckily it was at Enterprise, so it was at home. And we that year too, we knew we were going to win. So it was just more hype than anything. I wasn't nervous. I knew we were going to win. I knew we were going to play well. We had been really running the ball that well. I think the week prior, Izzy had gone for like 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. We were just pounding the ball, and we did the entire night. We just pounded the ball, and that was just, it was so much fun to be a part of.
There you go, man. There you go, man. So, coming to Oregon when you're admitted in March 19th of 2015. Look at that. Did my research. You went into Oregon cheer, and as a former player, how much were you like kind of divided on like, okay, I gotta do my cheer duties, I gotta like get the crowd going, and B, were you kind of peeking at the game? Were you just kind of like dissecting it more?
Time for watching the game. I got yelled at all the time for watching the game. So, but it opened up actually like a lot of friendships for me with guys that were on the team. So like, I feel lucky to say that like, I'm pretty good friends with Charles Nelson and Tony Brooks James. They're good friends of mine. I text, Tony and I text pretty regularly, and I'm always, now I'm a Vikings fan because he and Dylan Dylan Mitchell are on the Vikings, and so it's like I'm a Vikings fan now. Who knew?
Have you kept up with the cut tracker or the roster cuts?
I haven't. Did Tony get cut?
Yeah, Tony and Dylan got cut.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's the life of an NFLer. It's you're gonna
make the life of the guy in the practice squad. Tony bounced around quite a bit. He made it to the last cut for the Falcons, got picked up by the Steelers, was activated for the 53-man with the Steelers last year.
Yeah.
Then they released him, and then he got picked up by the Vikings. So that must have just happened. I had been off social media for a couple of days.
Yeah,
so.
I track NFL like religiously, so it's like at work when it's a little bit down period, so I'm like, oh, let's see what's going on here, and then I'm like, and okay, well, damn it,
that sucks. Yeah,
come on, Vikings.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, if I remember correctly, Juwan Johnson and Calvin Throckmorton got signed to the practice squad for the Saints.
Yes,
and then for the 49ers, Ronas Grasu, Joe Walker, and who else got signed on to the practice squad for the 49ers?
As far as the former Oregon, I
have the tweet. I should find that.
I
follow Rob Mosley, and that's where I get all my information from.
Okay, back to what back to your cheer career. So, yes. What was that like? Your first game you cheered for, or so you mentioned that you started cheering, like let's say senior year of high school, kind of.
Senior year of high school,
I
went to one practice.
Went to one practice. So then, when you got to Oregon and you were in the cheer practice for the first time, how were your eyes? Were they big? Were they just? How was your head? Was
Massive.
It swimming? Or?
Massive. It was. It was like the first time I hadn't been pretty good at something right away, because it's such a different philosophy in terms of like movement, like movement prioritization. I thought like if you wanted to like toss higher, like have a higher toss, so be able to do more stunts and stuff like that, you had to just like really muscle it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you just the saying is like, speed is height, and so you wanted to be faster, and that was just like, that made no sense to me for some reason. Just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I was pretty bad for about a year, and then I was like okay, like consistently okay.
Yeah.
And then by my junior and senior year, I was I never did too many elite stunts, but whatever I did well, and it looked good. And at that point, that's what Oregon right now for cheer is more worried about. They don't compete, they don't really do anything like that. Their main thing is to just look good and to supplement the experience at sporting events.
What was the training like as far as off the bounce? Off the court or off the gridiron?
Yeah, off the field.
Off the
Yeah.
field. There you go. Okay. All right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's training like off the field.
So it was a mix of Olympic weightlifting and just power exercises. So, we would go in, one day was a clean and jerk day, and then you would bench, and they'd have some leg accessories, and then we'd go do, like speed work, like speed footwork and stuff like that, and just general conditioning. The other day that we would train would be a snatch day, squat, and some upper body accessories. And then we would again just go do general conditioning. And then the third day that we would train that week would be really all movement accessories. So cheers very hard on your body. It's really easy to get like pronated shoulders and not have very good shoulder mobility. It's easy to hurt your back, your neck. And so the third day was a lot of restorative work. And then another 3 days of the week, I would go do work on my own. I would go, to the rec center or something like that, and I would just go do work on my own. And then we would have practice. During classes, practice would be 4 to 5 days a week for 2 to 3 hours. And then, but during training camp, we're practicing 5 or 6 days a week, 2 to 3 times a day. And so at that point, you're not working out at all. Like your body's just so wrecked. Like you're doing some body weight stuff. Shout out to Rena John at Rena in Eugene, Oregon. And then probably 3 weeks into camp is when we'd introduce weights, through our strength coach. We had some great strength coaches too. Every year we got a different one, which was kind of unfortunate, but it exposed me to a lot of different training styles.
Yeah.
There was one coach I do stay in contact with. His name is Matt Voss, and he's a great dude. He's actually he's one of the strength coaches for US Ski and Alpine now in Park City, Utah. And so I get to talk to him and listen to all the crazy stuff that he's doing. He's not traveling as much anymore, which is unfortunate because they were supposed to go to Tokyo this year and do a month in Tokyo. Wow. During the winter for a remote training session, because like last year they had done Tokyo and then went straight to Switzerland, which is just like wild to think about. He was 2 months abroad, one in Tokyo, one in Switzerland, and then came back. So yeah, it was like that was a lot of what our training was like. It was a lot of Olympic lifting and power movements.
So then when you became a USA weight sports performance coach, was that because of your experiences with training in Olympic lifting from cheer?
Yeah. So I wanted to get better at it. But I didn't, I was good enough to where I didn't require attention from our strength coaches. And I didn't want to take up their time when we had, 30 other people in there. Mm-hmm. So I just my parents asked me one year what I wanted for Christmas. I said, I really want this certification, because then it also allowed me to be a personal trainer for a hot second. And so I drove to Seattle one day after fall term, and I spent the night in Seattle. I went to 2 days of seminars, and here I am. I haven't, unfortunately, I let my certification lapse once I graduated and got a job. Personal training was always kind of like a fallback for me, just in case I needed it. Mm-hmm. Thankfully I haven't needed it yet, but I do have that certification there if I want to go, if I want to retake my test and get it. So
how many of your friends have reached out to you, be like, hey man, can you train me, since you're a personal trainer or performance coach?
I've always been willing. I've always offered to people, like, if you want something, I'm more than happy to write something up for you. I'm not going to do one-on-one consults and stuff like that. Like I'll write you a spreadsheet with some directions and give the spreadsheet to you.
Yeah.
But if you want direct one-on-one coaching, you got to pay me for that. So I'm always willing to do I'm always willing to do some pro bono work and sure. And write some workouts for people and stuff like that. But you're not going to, no diets, none of that stuff. So
it's just so fun to eat what you want.
It is, yeah. and it's why I'm not really willing to give diet advice, because I know it works for me.
Yeah.
But I know kind of roughly what my calorie intake is in a day. Thanks to my Whoop band, I know how much I should be eating, and so shout out to Whoop, sponsor KC Media.
Just saying, guys, just throwing it out there. If you want to listen, great. Let's get sponsorship going.
Exactly, Whoop's great. But it's like that's not where my expertise is.
Yeah.
I look at myself every morning. I'm like, okay, like this is probably what I should eat today. About 80% of the time I follow it. But in my freezer right now, I have Trader Joe's cookie butter ice cream. And I went in on it last night.
There you go.
Mad hard on it last night. So along with also I've had like this serious hankering for garlic bread recently.
Ooh.
Like while I've been working, I have my windows open because I don't want to I like to get
nice.
the fresh air in here.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
Nice.
But at 10 a.m., the people above me start making garlic bread. There's nothing better than the smell of like melted butter, salt, and garlic. Like it's so good. And I was like, oh my God, I want garlic bread. So last night I cooked some chicken up on the grill, and then I went and I bought sourdough bread, smothered it in butter, put it on the grill, and when I took it off the grill, I really laid in some garlic salt on it. And I was like, oh man, this is so good. And once I started eating that, I was like, oh, this night's lost. And
yeah.
And I went in on the ice cream too. I do have one like diet tip for people that are listening is if you can eat the right thing 95% of the time, you're doing well. Like allow yourself. I always used to tell my clients when I did train was like have one meal a day where you indulge a little bit, because what that does and what I found in my experience is that it has kept me from just like losing an entire day of just like, okay, screw it. Like, oh, I had a pumpkin spice latte this morning that was 250 calories. The day's lost, so I'm just gonna go for it. It prevents that.
Yeah.
Like if you want more butter on something, put more butter on it. If you want cheese on it, put cheese on it, and make sure it's good cheese, like a sharp cheddar or something.
Yeah.
Make sure it's good cheese. So, but that's my one diet tip that I have for people.
Yeah. Now, where near you, or just what restaurant have you encountered has the best garlic bread?
The best garlic bread.
You can also let's find some grocery stores in there in case, like pre-made garlic bread.
Dude,
yeah.
The Kroger pre-made garlic bread, the Fred Meyer pre-made garlic bread. There's not much you can do better. Or I haven't found like a good garlic bread at a restaurant just because like I don't think it's ever going to be really worth it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be disappointed, so I just make my own garlic bread all the time.
Sure.
But my favorite appetizer ever is the bread with the olive oil and vinegar.
Oh yeah.
To the point where I make it for myself at home too. Like I have a squeeze bottle of olive oil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There you go.
So I do that. If I'm not doing garlic bread, it's that.
So when you're at the gym, let's say pre-COVID, you're at the gym, how much do you resist like seeing someone doing a workout wrong and going in and helping them? How much do you resist that?
If it's someone who is very new and obviously very new, I'll help them. But if it's someone, and if someone asks if they see me doing something and they, have done it differently in the past, I'm always happy to talk to people. But if it's someone who looks like they've got gym experience and, they're doing something that's not necessarily the way I would do it, I'm not saying it, how I do it is always correct, but in 8 years of training, knock on wood, I've never had an injury, so I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
If I see someone doing it differently than what I would do it, I usually don't talk to them, because I've had people do that to me. And while yes, it is like it's nice to hear that, but I'm always like, no, who the hell are you? Get the hell away from me, asshole! Like, don't talk to me. But if it's someone who's like very new, I'm always willing to help them and go out of my way to help them, because I'm going to give them information I wish I had known when I first started training.
Yeah, there are times where I do see like even someone on the machine and they're doing it very oddly. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
this name Eddie machine, and I'm just like, do I say something? Do I
Yeah.
just maybe this is just a different kind of workout that I don't know about because people are doing
Mhm.
machines in new odd and end ways. So it's like
Yeah.
maybe I'm just out of the loop. Maybe
Yep.
I.
And I always start with, you can take this advice or you cannot take this advice, but this is how I would do it.
Mm,
And this is why. And if
yeah,
you can provide a why with your recommendation, it kind of it I think it takes away that, like, this is just some random dude talking to me.
yeah,
It's someone who has some experience and wants to help me rather than just have other people do it the way he does it.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. So
It's a great
no,
question, though. I like that question.
yeah, you were cringing up a lot. It was
It was like,
great.
because I
Oh.
went through a phase where I wouldn't let it go.
Yeah,
And I think that's the same thing with, um like, it was right when I started training people. I felt like I needed to help everybody. And what it did is it burnt myself out. I didn't
yeah.
want to train myself anymore. Stop working out.
Yeah, and there's sometimes like it's if these are things that make you happy, totally fine, go crazy. But yeah, the part where you start to feel yourself burning out, like I. So we originally had to move this interview from yesterday, Sunday, to today, Monday, because my brain was already thinking about vacation. My brain was already thinking about, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take a time off. It's great. I get to not, feel like I'm exerting so much creativity. So, but then I'm like, oh wait, I have one more. So, for me, trying to find that balance of like, I should probably take a little break because I don't want to see this as a chore. I want to see this as a fun thing to do to
Mm-hmm.
express or just use my
Absolutely. And that's
creativity muscles.
exactly what happened. It was like it ended up being a chore because I would go and I would go to the gym. And I think I made the mistake of working out in the gym that I trained at,
Oh,
where I should have been working out at the gym across the street that I also had a membership to. I should have just gone to that gym and worked out instead,
just a little bit.
because then it's a separation.
Yeah. All right. So the fans would hate me if I mention that you're a former Oregon cheerleader and I don't bring up the Oregon Duck, the mascot,
Sure.
the guy or gal, whoever is under that costume, that
Yes.
is the most prominent figure in this school known to date.
Yes.
So, as far as how closely do you work with whoever's underneath that mask when it comes up to game day?
They're a part of cheer. Like, they are on the roster. Like,
Mhm.
they are a part of cheer. So, um, it's great. So they're all really fun people too. If you imagine the people that you would expect to be the Duck, that's who they are. They're
Yeah.
really fun, really creative, quirky, very outgoing, just hilarious individuals.
Yeah.
So they use the man leaders. The Duck uses the man leaders a lot,
Hmm.
for his stunts, carrying him out in a cake, carrying him out on a surfboard, carrying him out in a canoe for the Lewis and Clark game, um, you know, being his ball boy when he's shooting 3-pointers at the beginning of a basketball game. Like, he uses us a lot. So, but it's all, I wouldn't change it for the world. We got to do some really cool things because of the Duck. So, thank you, Duck. If you were listening, thank you.
Now, is it true that it is like holding national like secrecy when it comes to the identity of the Duck?
Yeah, up until they graduate, because my Dana, our cheer coach, lets them wear the feet during graduation.
Yes, yes, I've seen that one. Yeah.
So, but yeah, we went during my first training camp. um, there was we couldn't take pictures when the Duck was around, just in case. Like, we got one when he didn't have his head on,
Hmm.
or his head was in a different location.
Yeah.
What's really interesting, obviously, like, um, not probably supposed to tell you this, but again, like, what are they going to do to me?
You're graduate. You're done. Your time there is
Exactly,
over.
exactly. So there's only really, there are multiple people in this, like, that can be in the suit at once. Like,
Yeah.
not one person is from the start of the game. start of a football game to the end of a football game. That's 9 hours in suit, and that's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is that if one duck is doing like an appearance at a wedding or something like that, like in a duck's like at a game, when the duck's at the wedding, the duck at the game has to go like somewhere else because they can't be in the same place at once, obviously.
Oh,
So
tricks of the trade.
tricks of the trade, exactly.
Now, have you ever donned the duck outfit?
Once. Yeah.
Can you say anything about it?
Smelly. we could figure out at a basketball game who was in suit based off how they smell.
Oh, jeez.
Well, some of them did a great job of keeping it clean. Like you can just throw in the dish, or not in the dishwasher, in the laundry machine. You just throw it in the laundry machine. So yeah, throw everything in the laundry machine.
Yeah, like, would the head fit in the laundry machine?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
So, what's really funny though is just like think about all the people that like give their baby to the duck. You don't know who's in there.
Yeah. Oh man, I wonder how it's going to be this upcoming football season. With obviously, I think limited fans to no fans, probably no fans, and how the Ducks can interact because the Duck was thriving when there's people around.
Yeah, but then again, like Oregon's not playing this season, so
you don't think it's going to be?
I really hope. What's that?
You don't think there's going to be a season?
I don't think Oregon will play football this year. I do not think so. I also was just reading that Penei Sewell declared for the NFL draft next year.
So, what?
Yeah, so
you said someone from your high school?
No, Penei Sewell.
Oh, that I thought you said someone from your high school. Yeah, I got a notification before our interview started that Penei is going to opt out for the year and probably prepare for
the draft. Obviously, like he's the best left tackle in the country.
He's not going to go anywhere
else.
So, Jake Smith, I could talk to you forever, man. But the one thing I need to ask you about, the one thing I need to know more about is your love of Star Wars. You have a tattoo of the Millennium Falcon on your forearm, I believe. Star Wars in the background. There it is. And then your dog. Your dog's name is Ben Kenobi.
Yeah.
Where does this passion come from?
I got picked on a lot as a kid. So, and whenever like I had a bad day or something like that, my parents had bought me the complete box set after Revenge of the Sith came out. I would just go home and I would just watch Star Wars movies, and it was always a safe place for me. It was fun. It allowed me to, just lose touch for a couple hours at a time. So I also have I have BB-8 and R2-D2 right here. So
dang, man.
Yeah, so it's this left arm is going to be a full Star Wars sleeve.
It really seems like it's going to be. You're going to have
it's going to be sweet. Shout out to Jerry at Geekster Inc. Tattoos in Vancouver, Washington, because he did this piece, and then a guy in Eugene named Ryan Beauchamp did the Millennium Falcon. So Geekster Inc.
Geekster Inc.
Yeah, man. They when Comic-Con was traveling, they traveled with Comic-Con and would set up shops like outside of Comic-Con and in Comic-Con to do tattoos and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen those. So I've gone to like a good amount of Comic-Cons just in Portland, but yeah, I just see like they have as soon as you enter in, they have like the whole tattoo stand. I always thought to myself, who would sit there and get a tattoo while all these other people are walking around doing other things and other things are going on? It seems like that would be the last thing I want to be at, sitting at a table, sitting at a chair. But man, that's awesome. That's clean. How long did that take?
The Millennium Falcon took probably 2 hours, and then this took 2.5.
Okay, that's
not too long. I found guys that like don't take forever.
Yeah,
they do a good job. And part of the reason they do a good job is because they don't take forever, and they have a thought process of what they want to do when they tattoo.
Is that the first one, or is that the was the Millennium Falcon the first one, or you have others?
That was my third. So I have my dog's paw print, my childhood dog's paw print on my chest, and then I have a big koi fish on my right thigh.
Uh-huh.
So this is this was number 4, and then soon I'm gonna get some like filler work in here,
Nice.
of like some X-wings and some TIE fighters and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oof. Damn, dude.
I know.
That is nice.
I know. Luckily, I have a company that is okay with visible tattoos.
I was gonna ask about that too, because otherwise, you
Yeah.
you have to wear like a long sleeve and
Exactly.
But
So
your office is also closed, so probably.
that's true. But my thought process was, if a place wasn't okay with visible tattoos, it's also probably a place where I'm gonna have to be at least business casual at.
Yeah.
So at least like a shirt and tie or a shirt and a jacket. And if they aren't okay with it, it's probably not a place I want to work anyway.
It's 2020 tattoos. As long as it's in good look, and it's not like something too obscene, should be fine in the office space.
Exactly. It's it's not like it's a hateful image or something like that.
Yeah.
Arguably the 2 most lovable characters in Star Wars history.
And I mean, I don't think you're gonna get like a tattoo of Baby Yoda getting stabbed or some really extreme thing.
I really want Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda's gonna come soon. So
oof.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
What does Hannah say about this whole obsession?
It was part of the reason like I wanted to date her, was like she was really cool with Star Wars. But yeah, she's a fan too. Not to the extent that I am.
Yeah.
She's more of a Disney fan. Like she's a hardcore Disney fan. And so I wasn't as open to Disney as she was to Star Wars, just because like, again, I think it was part of like where I grew up. Not a lot of people went to Disneyland. Like that was something that was too expensive for a lot of people to do. And so I didn't form this love of Disney that Hannah has. But now being with her and experiencing it, I'm right there with her. Love Disney, and I especially love Disney now that they own Star Wars. Like that's great.
Yeah, there you go, man. Yeah, my brother and his girlfriend did a whole Disney. He did a whole Star Wars like plunge, through the Disney Plus. So he just watched all of them.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing that tonight.
Jake Smith, where can the people find you on social media?
I just changed my username, so I'm gonna on Instagram at Jake __ Smith with 3 H's, because there's more than one Jake Smith in the world, surprisingly.
I would not.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's really where you're gonna find me. I just retweet a lot of stuff on Twitter.
Yeah.
And that's at Jake Smith 2354, because again, there's a lot of Jake Smiths in the world. I just retweet a bunch of stuff. There are no original thoughts that come from my head. But Instagram is where you'll see my tattoos and my dog and some golf and Hannah every once in a while. So
yeah.
I also have to give a shout out to Hannah. Find her on Instagram, and I believe she's still got the same username. It's Hannah the Hippie. So so I should find her. She posts. She's got some great Meatless Monday posts. So she does a lot with cruelty-free, products and vegan food, and starting her modeling career. So I just want to give her a shout out too.
There you go. Follow Hannah the Hippie, and I'll do a little plug for that one as well as in the description.
Appreciate you.
But man, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Labor Day Monday and sitting down and chatting with me. It's good to see you. You look fantastic.
Thanks, Keoni. So do you too, man.
Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the interview. Do you have any follow-up questions for the guest? Put them in the comments below that I will get them answered for you. So if you like what you heard and you want to hear more episodes from Keoni Chats, the show can be found on iTunes and Spotify. But if you like a video version, you can search Keoni Chats in YouTube and subscribe and hit the bell button to get alert when a new episode is released. If you want to stay connected with KC Media and Keoni Chats, you can follow KC Media 13 on both Instagram and Twitter. And if you want to search Conlu K Media in Facebook, that will take you to KC Media's Facebook page. So if you'd like to be a guest, go ahead and direct message me on any of those social media platforms or email me at kcmedia13@yahoo.com and we'll get something scheduled. So until the next episode, everyone, please take care.